Young disciple John Smith was born with an insignificant spiritual root. He was an orphan picked up by Emily Williams from the foot of the mountain.
Emily, who is this child you brought back?
Michael, this is John. He has no spiritual root, but I found a spiritual herb that might help. However, we need the phoenix ling flower. Can you bring it to us?
My heart sank as I realized what she was asking. I had waited a year in the cold abyss for the phoenix ling flower to bloom, intending to use it to refine a pill to enhance my cultivation.
Emily, I have other plans for the phoenix ling flower.
Emily, if Michael is unwilling, it's fine. I'm just a regular person. I don't necessarily need to cultivate.
Impossible. Human life is limited. If you don't cultivate, you will pass away in a few decades. How can I let that happen?
Emily took a deep breath and looked at me.
Thomas has already agreed. He will exchange it for a magical artifact. Don't argue.
She handed me a red ribbon, which she had obtained during her last outing. However, I still didn't know how to use it.
This ribbon is worthless compared to the phoenix ling flower.
Emily didn't say another word. She sent a gust of wind that knocked me over, and the phoenix ling flower ended up in her hands. I felt a dull pain in my chest.
Emily, although we have the catalyst, the healer said that if we could have an innate spiritual bone, it would be much more effective. I'm afraid I won't make it through without it. Please help me.
As soon as he finished speaking, Emily turned her gaze to me.
Michael, please help us.
What did you say?
David, you should give it to him. John is immortal and can't withstand the medicine's potency. You're different. Haven't you always prided yourself on being strong?
Ridiculous. If you're willing, why don't you give it? No one can take my spiritual bone.
You won't even listen to me now.
Wait until you become the sect leader before you start ordering me around.
I turned to leave, and she was so angry her face turned pale. As I left, her gaze was filled with venom. We had been disciples under Thomas for decades, spending every day together. I didn't know when she changed, starting to suppress me in every way. Now, she had become my enemy for an outsider. Back at the bamboo house, just as I was about to rest, John came.
Michael, it's my fault for causing a rift between you and Emily. Here, take it back. You're right. I should handle it myself.
He returned the phoenix ling flower to me. I was a bit surprised but still accepted it. After he left, I took the phoenix ling flower and began meditating. As the spiritual power surged within me, reaching a critical point, I sensed someone approaching.
William, you're so clever, predicting that he would eagerly use the phoenix ling flower. Now that the medicine has fully integrated, it's the perfect time to take his spiritual bone.
Hearing this, I was on high alert but couldn't muster any strength. Two figures slipped in from outside. It was Emily and John.
Why? Why are you doing this? We've known each other for decades, and you want to take my spiritual bone.
It's just a spiritual bone. You're so capable, you can start over.
Michael, it's my fault for causing a rift between you and Emily. Here, take it back. You're right, I should handle it myself.
William, are you sure about this?
He returned the phoenix ling flower to me. I was a bit surprised but still accepted it. After he left, I took the phoenix ling flower and began meditating. As the spiritual power surged within me, reaching a critical point, I sensed someone approaching.
Emily, you're so clever, predicting that he would eagerly use the phoenix ling flower. Now that the medicine has fully integrated, it's the perfect time to take his spiritual core.
Why? Why are you doing this? We've known each other for decades, and you want to take my spiritual core.
It's just a spiritual core. You're so capable, you can start over.
Michael felt a deep sense of regret as he returned the phoenix ling flower.
It's my fault for causing a rift between you and Emily. Here, take it back. You're right, I should handle it myself.
I was a bit surprised but accepted the flower. After he left, I began meditating with the phoenix ling flower. As the spiritual power surged within me, reaching a critical point, I sensed someone approaching.
William, you're so clever, predicting that he would eagerly use the phoenix ling flower. Now that the medicine has fully integrated, it's the perfect time to take his spiritual bone.
Hearing this, I was on high alert but couldn't muster any strength. Two figures slipped in from outside. It was Emily and John.
Why? Why are you doing this? We've known each other for decades, and you want to take my spiritual bone.
It's just a spiritual bone. You're so capable, you can start over.
I couldn't evade it. At that moment, a ribbon flew up and shielded me. A red light enveloped me, blocking all the sword energy, but the ribbon dimmed slightly.
What is that?
I didn't know either, but it was my only artifact now. Gripping the ribbon, I faced him.
Do you believe it? You can't kill me today, but I can drag you down with me. Even if it costs me everything, I can take you with me.
If we both perish, it won't be worth it for you.
Sarah Parker still remembered our bond and left me this protective artifact. John Smith, you mean nothing to her.
He was furious but wary of my artifact. Clenching his fists, he scoffed.
What's so great about it? I'll wait and see how you escape from this deep valley.
He sheathed his sword and turned to leave, scattering a powder in the air. I sniffed it and my face changed instantly.
David Anderson, good luck.
That guy had scattered a powder that attracts beasts. If those beasts caught up with me, I'd be in serious trouble. I couldn't afford to think much. Gripping the ribbon, I hurried on. But my mortal body couldn't compete with those beasts. Soon, I heard roars and earth-shaking tremors behind me as the beasts approached.
If I die here today, I'll return as a vengeful spirit to seek revenge.
Hearing this, a low chuckle came from the shadows, eerily clear in this place. I turned my head sharply.
Who's there?
Little one, you have quite the mouth. David Anderson, that's a nice name. What a pity.
Whether you're human or ghost, come out and stop wasting time.
As soon as I finished speaking, the beast struck. I dodged but was still a step too slow, its blow damaging my heart meridian. I spat out blood, feeling like my bones were falling apart. Having my spiritual core extracted had already left me with little time. Now, after this heavy blow, I couldn't get up again. The ribbon emitted a faint glow.
It seems we'll both perish here today. But don't worry, you'll soon find a new master.
I knew it was an artifact, but I didn't know what it was. Since it helped me, it must have accepted me. But being dragged down by me, suffering in this dark valley, was truly unfair. The beasts closed in, excited to find such easy prey in the valley. They bared their fangs and approached.
Go, get out of here.
But before I could finish, I lost consciousness. When I woke up, an old man with a white beard and black clothes, his face covered in sword scars, stood beside me, looking intimidating. Michael woke up in an unfamiliar place, trying to get up immediately but was held down by an elderly man.
Stay put. You're seriously injured. I went through a lot to save you from those beasts. Don't waste my efforts.
Thank you, sir. May I know your name?
I've forgotten. I've been living in this deep valley for quite some time. It's rare to see a living person, and you give me hope.
The elder sighed, examining Michael's condition.
Your ribbon is an ancient artifact. Somehow, it awakened but was severely damaged. I sealed it within you, serving as your new spiritual core. In time, you and it will become one, and you can start anew. At such a young age, I don't know who you offended to have your spiritual core taken. Be cautious in the future.
Michael slowly gathered his energy and discovered a pearl-sized inner core in his dantian, leaving him stunned.
Drink this. After you do, we part ways. Consider it a stroke of fate. Remember, as long as you're alive, there's hope.
Thank you.
Michael drank the dark liquid in one gulp. The old man got up and left, flying away on a tree branch.
Sword sect?
Before he could think too much, a warm current spread throughout his body, reaching his limbs. He sat up and began to circulate his energy. The elder was right. Starting over isn't impossible with a new spiritual core. Feeling the spiritual energy coursing through him, Michael closed his eyes and smiled. The last time he felt this way was when he was about to advance. Now, he felt it again. He could sense the ribbon within him, perfectly integrated. The elder mentioned it was an ancient artifact, and it had seamlessly merged with his body. This must be a blessing in disguise.
Sarah Parker, I owe her thanks. She not only saved my life, but also helped me start anew.
In the deep valley, as Michael rebuilt his spiritual core and gradually recovered, no beasts dared to approach. Interestingly, he had been there for about half a month without encountering a single beast. The valley was perpetually shrouded in a dense black fog. However, the fog didn't harm him, but it kept the beasts at bay, which puzzled him. Could there be a powerful entity suppressing them here? Michael picked up a branch and started practicing. Besides the black fog, everything progressed rapidly here. Perhaps it was because of his new spiritual core, he felt in harmony with the surroundings, and his progress was swift. Previously, it took him decades to reach the golden core stage, which was already considered highly talented. But now, in just half a month, his inner core had grown significantly. Starting over, he was sure his speed was more than doubled. It seemed the new spiritual core was indeed beneficial. He wondered if John Smith would be furious when he found out.
And after using my spiritual core, I wondered what he had become. When I return, I will surely level Sword Bright Mountain. Has Thomas Brown found out by now?
The truth remained hidden. Michael spent 3 years training in a secluded valley. When he finally stood at the peak again, he looked at the surrounding mountains and smiled.
It's time!
He heard the sound of bells and saw a purple aura. Without hesitation, he leaped forward, heading straight for Sword Bright Mountain. Upon arrival, he overheard a few young disciples talking.
Today is Senior Sisters and John Smith's big day. We need to hurry, or we won't get a good spot.
Will Master Thomas be attending?
Who knows? Master Thomas has been in seclusion for 3 years. If he comes out today, it'll be quite the spectacle.
Today, they're likely to announce the new sect leader. If David Anderson were here, it wouldn't go to Senior Sister.
Sure. Keep your voice down, or you'll get punished if someone hears you.
They had no idea about Michael's fate. This was the perfect timing for his return. Michael formed a hand seal and rushed ahead of them. In the main hall, he saw Sarah Parker and John Smith in red, leaning on each other with eyes full of affection.
How's that spiritual core working out for you, John Smith? Your talent was never on par with mine.
Michael watched them coldly, unnoticed by anyone.
Everyone! Today is a joyous day for Sword Bright Mountain. John Smith and I are becoming Tao companions, sharing our future together.
The crowd erupted in blessings, but Michael sneered, watching them perform the ceremonial rites. Once they were officially bound as Tao companions, with lotus marks appearing on their palms symbolizing their union, Michael finally felt at ease. At that moment, someone announced, "Master Thomas is here!" A white-haired elder swiftly entered, followed by a row of elders.
Today is not only their big day, but also the day to announce the new sect leader of Sword Bright Mountain.
Michael never expected such a hypocritical woman to become the sect leader.
Sword Bright Mountain has been established for over 300 years, with many affairs to manage. I intend for Sarah Parker to inherit the position of sect leader. Sarah, you must ensure the prosperity of our sect.
Yes, Master.
As Sarah Parker accepted the sect leader's crown, a young disciple beside Michael muttered,
It's over. Everyone knows she's the most exploitative. She took everything I brought back from my training, not even leaving me a single pill.
Exactly.
When David Anderson was here, he would guide us. She only has eyes for John Smith. Now it's even worse.
Does she even deserve it?
Michael's eyes were filled with regret as he handed back the phoenix lingflower.
It's my fault for causing the rift between you and Emily. Here, take it back. You're right, I should handle it myself.
He returned the flower to him, and he accepted it, albeit with some surprise. After Michael left, he began to meditate with the phoenix lingflower. Just as his spiritual power surged within him and reached a critical point, he sensed someone approaching.
William, you're so clever, predicting that he would eagerly use the phoenix lingflower. Now that the medicine has fully integrated, it's the perfect time to take his spiritual bone.
Hearing this, he was on high alert but found himself devoid of strength. Two figures slipped in from outside. It was Emily and John.
Why? Why are you doing this? We've known each other for decades, and you want to take my spiritual bone.
He suppressed the pain in his heart and questioned Emily.
It's just a spiritual bone. You're so capable, you can start over.
Michael stood under the old oak tree, holding the phoenix lingflower.
It's my fault for causing a rift between you and Emily. Here, take it back. You're right, I should handle it myself.
He handed the phoenix lingflower back to William, who accepted it with a mix of surprise and resignation. After Michael left, William began meditating with the phoenix lingflower in hand. The spiritual power surged within him, reaching a critical point when he sensed someone approaching.
William, you're so clever, predicting that he would eagerly use the phoenix lingflower. Now that the medicine has fully integrated, it's the perfect time to take his spiritual bone.
William's heart raced as he realized he couldn't muster any strength to defend himself. Emily and John slipped in from outside.
Why? Why are you doing this? We've known each other for decades, and you want to take my spiritual bone.
It's just a spiritual bone. You're so capable, you can start over.
John Smith broke free from Emily's grasp.
Who wants to share the spoils with you? Kill him! Kill him now!
Sarah Parker looked at William with disbelief, then seemed to make up her mind and charged at him with a long sword. But her life-bound sword had been given to John Smith. Over the years, she had neglected her training, and John Smith certainly hadn't taken good care of it. So, when her sword met William's black gold sword, it bent.
Yes, her life-bound sword actually bent. Sarah Parker, are you trying to make a fool of yourself?
Sarah, enraged, threw a punch at him. Meanwhile, Thomas Brown and several elders were setting up a formation behind her. Recognizing it, William narrowed his eyes. This formation was taught to him by Thomas Brown himself. Unfortunately for them, he had long since improved it. The mountain guarding formation William used was far superior.
Did they really think they could trap me with my own formation? Ridiculous.
With a casual wave, William's sword flew from its hilt, aiming straight for Thomas Brown's vital point. He kicked Sarah Parker away.
Too slow. Your movements are sloppy.
As he critiqued, he formed a few hand seals and sent them flying towards John Smith, knocking him to the ground. John Smith's red wedding robe was torn to shreds, hanging off him in tatters, his eyes filled with malice.
David Anderson, you'll never have a peaceful end.
Sarah was stunned, while William calmly smiled and shot a branch at her, pinning her to the ground.
How dare you?
Of course I dare. Today, it's either you or me. If Thomas Brown insists on protecting him and won't seek justice, then I'll seek justice for myself.
With his sword in hand, William cut down anyone who stood in his way. Suddenly, his spiritual energy failed him.
A fool will always be a fool. Short-sighted.
Looking down, William saw that Thomas Brown and the elders had trapped him within a spirit-locking formation, draining all his spiritual energy. No matter how much he tried, it was all absorbed, leaving him immobilized. Thomas Brown shook his head.
Michael, I knew from the start you were trouble. I let you train to temper your arrogance, but you wouldn't listen. This sect is my domain. You could have been content as the chief disciple. Why did you have to stand out? You're too ambitious. Today, I'll teach you one last lesson. Always eliminate the root of the problem, never show mercy.
With that, a bolt of lightning struck down. William felt the pain but also a surge of excitement. He licked his lips, feeling the spiritual core within him react. It had been a long time since he felt this way.
The lightning came at the perfect time!
Thomas Brown and the others surrounded him, intending to obliterate him. But William knew this was his last chance. As the lightning struck, a cloud of smoke rose from the formation center. No one believed he could stand up again. When the smoke cleared, a massive crater lay at the center, with no trace of William's body.
He's dead. Blown to ashes.
He rushed to Sarah's side.
Congratulations, senior sister, on becoming the sect leader. There's no more threat.
Sarah pushed him away harshly.
When disaster strikes, everyone for themselves. John Smith, I've treated you well, but your behavior just now was disappointing.
John was taken aback and quickly pleaded.
Senior sister, don't blame me. I was just scared. See, I stayed by your side the whole time.
Sarah gave him a cold smile. Just as she was about to speak, a hand emerged from the crater, startling her. William broke through the bottom of the pit, slowly rising, and with a wave of his sleeve, a golden light shot out from within him.
A demi-immortal body.
Thank you, Master, for using the spirit-locking formation to trap all the spiritual energy here. Now I've become a demi-immortal, thanks to your help.
Hearing this, Thomas Brown staggered, unable to utter a word.
I advanced, slashing with my sword.
Thomas Brown and the elders tried to defend themselves, but with a wave of his sleeve, William cut them all down. William saved Sarah and John Smith for last. Seeing him approach, stepping through the blood and flesh, they trembled with fear. John Smith, enraged, shouted,
You can't kill me. The system says I'm the chosen one, the protagonist. I have a halo.
A halo?
With a swift strike, William severed John's arms, then his tendons, and finally threw him into the abyss.
William, you can't kill me. I'm the sect leader.
Sect leader? Then guard the gate.
He pinned her to the gate with his sword. Sarah pleaded.
Michael, I wronged you. It was him, John Smith, who seduced me. I didn't mean it. I even gave you a magical artifact, Michael. Please spare me.
Looking at the remaining disciples, William sneered.
You said you would sacrifice yourself for the sect. Now it's your turn. Your death will ensure the survival of the Sword Bright Mountain.
A look of despair flashed in her eyes as the remaining disciples took up their swords and pierced her through. William turned and left, sparing them, but from then on, the Sword Bright Mountain ceased to exist. As the sun rose in the distance, William rode his sword, wandering the world.